getting into that last wild card spot.
Yep.
So, the vote was down to the wire. We don't actually know. It was Dignitas and Absolute Legends just neck to neck right at the last second.
And then Marn. And then Marn happened.
And then Marn. And Marn, I was excited to see Marn, but they did stop out. And it's fine because Absolute Legends, they're an experienced team, and they bring a lot of, I don't know, an interesting presence to this game.
I mean, I would have loved to see that lineup happen. But there's still like a little part of me that thinks that it was all just like one big plot to get him a free trip. That's just me, though. That's just me.
Didn't he, like, right after he disbanded the team, ask, hey, guys, you're going to give me free passes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. But anyway, back into this game. Orbit versus Absolute Legends. This is for the wild card spot. It is a 4-team round robin. It is going to be a full round robin. It's not limited or anything. And the #1 team from this round robin, the, undisputed champion of this round robin, they are going to be coming to IPL5 as that 16th spot. And we've already decided a number of spots. It's going to be really exciting to see who's coming.
Yeah, and we've seen Orbit play a little bit before. AL, I think not as many games we'd like to see them play from the qualifier. And the same thing. Remember that
we've seen some of the players though through the previous iterations.
We've seen some of the players because I remember Spellsy was one of the earlier members on Meet Playground, if I remember correctly. But also remember that during most of these qualifiers, CLG Prime and Dignitas, they were off in Korea, so they did not get too many chances to play in the early qualifier. So at the very least, we're going to be giving them a last chance, and at least one of them still not going to be seen at IPL5 even after all this is said and done. Either Dignitas or CLG Prime, or maybe neither.
Yeah,
will actually be showing up in Vegas.
That's definitely a good point, is the fact that we are going to be missing out on some really great teams just because the level of competition is so high. But so far, pretty standard bans, some of the strongest champions. But there are a number of unusual champions that both teams have liked. We saw this past weekend at Lone Star Clash. Orb, they liked the Evelyn. They were using the Kog'Maw to great effect as their AD carry. So Quantic, they really liked the Wild Turtle in that AD spot with that Kog'Maw. But he used Twitch one of the games. So we'll see if they do anything unusual there. Absolute Legends, on the other hand, they have some unusual picks themselves because Zekit was always known for that Poppy and that Kale pick. So, he's back in the mid lane. He went down to the bot lane, played support. We'll see if he can do anything in that top lane again, unusual that we're not really expecting. Yep.
So now, waiting on the first pick here for Absolute Legends, they have lots of places they can go.
Shen, Sona, Ezreal, any number of really strong champions still remaining.
Yep. So we may very well.
Actually,
I'm expecting a Shen. That's just me, but may not actually be that way.
I would think probably Shen or Sona. Ezreal definitely works in there too. So it comes down to whether or not they feel Ezreal's still really strong. Because he's still a really strong champion, but
still safe.
A lot of people have been shying away from him in those picks. So they go ahead. It is a safe pick. There's no real threat there. But now Quantic, they're in a great situation. They get that Shen pick, and they're also going to get whatever support they like.
Yep. And Ezreal, he just can't trade like he used to. He doesn't get that attack speed debuff on whoever he's squaring off again like he used to. But yeah, he is the safe pick. He can farm pretty reasonably well from a distance.
I'm curious. Quantic might even hold off on the support and go someone like Rengar since he's open. Just a champion that they think may be picked up, but they're comfortable with. And actually, Nunu would be a really strong support. We've talked about in the past how with Sona and Blitzcrank seeing nerfs, how Nunu could just rise to dominance. And when you consider that they had been playing a lot of Kog'Maw, they played Kog'Maw the entire time at Lone Star Clash. If they're really happy with that AD, Nunu's basically the perfect support for that Kog'Maw.
And also now with the recent buffs to Ezreal, we're now seeing a lot more AD champs actually come out of the woodworks. Champs like Caitlyn, champs like Vayne, and Nunu with all of the misfortune among those two. And Nunu with all of these champs that are now starting to creep back into popularity, he works well with pretty much all of them actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, he gives your AD a nice little boost as the game progresses with that Blood Boil, but the counter carry perspective that he gives with his slow, but and also the absolute zero, how strong it is at controlling fights. You can just set the front line for your team. That's really strong. But Absolute Legends, they have a really cool team right now, and it's actually a team that we had seen Orb play in the past. When Nubby Pooh Bear was on the team, they would run that Ezreal, Sona, and then like a Lee Sin and Orianna as that last member there. They would have a very mobile kind of team. And, you know, we've seen how strong Lee Sin is recently, so we'll see how they do with that. But that's, I mean, they already have a very safe team. They have a couple of options to go with that. And expecting the Lee Sin now, they have to consider what kind of a jungler they're going to want against that Lee Sin, because he's such an aggressive counter jungler. You know, it really is incredible to watch Lee Sin play. He's arguably the strongest jungler in the game right now. So they're going to want someone that is equally strong as far as ganks are concerned, or is able to really easily control the jungle. So a couple of options there, but maybe a Maokai or like a Shyvana or something.
Yep. And he also knows too that a lot of those big jungle bans are all from Absolute Legends. Skarner, Nocturne, and Malphite, all three of them, they took all of them out. So they're definitely working. You know, they're definitely running into that gameplay, but there's still a few other options open. Just maybe not the most optimal, but you can still give it a shot. Actually, Alistar is actually also open. We haven't been seeing him in the jungle quite often.
I think that the TF pick means that they're actually running Shen in the jungle, and I know that's something that we've seen from them in the past. And we've seen from Hyel9, we've seen him run that Shen jungle. So it's going to be interesting seeing how Shen works out against the Lee Sin, because Lee Sin should have a jungling advantage, but I don't think that they would want to pick both of their lanes you know, this early. But they have a lot of map presence already, Quantic does.
Double global.
And so Absolute Legends, they need a way to, you know, be very safe in their lanes, and these are actually really strong picks, because Ahri can beat TF in the lane. She can pick up those kills, but also Aurelia is one of the strongest champions when you're ganking her in that 1v2 situation. And yes, it is going to be Shen in the jungle, so Jack's going up in that top lane, most likely, and we'll see how that works. But Aurelia is very strong with the heal she gets on her ultimate and the stun as well at surviving from ganks.
And we'll also see if we're sticking with that teleport then, because with all this map presence coming in from Quantic, you're going to need at least some backup at some point. And having Aurelia right in the middle of the fight, properly farmed, should actually do pretty well. It's just a matter of, I wonder if Yuzuki's actually going to be leaving and roaming outside of that top lane, or if he's going to be looking to just stay there the entire time, get his split push on, and try and just force the Absolute Legends top lane to play his game.
Yeah, I think for the most part, when I've seen Yuzuki in the past, he tends to stay in that top lane. He tends to leave it on an island, which is true of most North American teams. And so in that situation, you know, it's kind of interesting. Like you said, if Aurelia leaves, what is Jax going to do? Is he going to decide to just push down the turrets and take that farming advantage, or is he going to try and roam as well? And I think he'll probably just take that farming advantage. But if Jax gets any sort of early lead, or if Aurelia is forced to leave the lane to fight, then that could give Jax just enough momentum where he can win that 1v1 matchup. And that's kind of a dangerous thing for Aurelia to leave, because it's an even matchup. It's a skill matchup, Aurelia versus Jax, that you commonly see. And Aurelia does very well early on, and she can do well as the game progresses. But if Jax gets any sort of early lead, then he can just chase her down, and he's just has so much damage that he's going to be able to control that side lane. And if you can control the side lane and prevent the enemy team from grouping up, because they're going to constantly have to worry about that Jax, that opens up the playing field for TF and Shen to be a little bit more aggressive.
On the opposite end, though, if we see Yoda actually put up a lot of aggression there on top, trying to deny Jax down, if Aurelia gets the proper farm, early Trinity Force, and then just go straight into Guardian Angel, and that's going to be a huge presence in those team fights later on. So it can really swing either way, and I think it's going to depend a lot on how much Yoda and Hai are actually going to be how much aggression they're actually going to be putting there in the top lane, if any.
And one thing to consider is it's not necessarily only the aggression from Lee Sin. It's also they might do a lane swap. So Absolute Legends, one of the most common things you'll do against Jax is just you swap the lanes. He really struggles in the 1v2. You throw him behind a little bit. Aurelia's not the best at the 1v2, but she's a little bit stronger than Jax is early on. And also running the teleport is something that you could see if you're going that 1v2, because it gives Aurelia a little bit more flexibility as far as swapping the lanes is concerned. And then also they might do that kind of play that we've seen from like CLG with Voyboy in the past when he was still on it, where you pass off the blue buff. And so Lee Sin, he doesn't start blue necessarily. He could start at red, or he could go for an early invade. Aurelia could actually take blue level 1, recall into base, and then teleport into bottom lane and use that Blade Surge and early level advantage in order to dash in and out and farm in the 1v2 lane. So I think Quantic right now, they have to be considering whether or not Absolute Legends is going to consider that lane swap, because I think that there is the potential for it.
I think with that health regen onto Aurelia, I think that may be our indicator here. You also see going splitting up also, the mana regen on the utility tree, that's not something you see a whole lot of. So I think
that would work in any laning situation.
Right.
But you're right, I think that might be a factor.
Yeah, I think that maybe those may be the telltale signs, just to feel a little bit extra mana regen, a little bit extra health, just so you can stay in the lane a little longer, just so you can sustain. I mean, but yeah, once the blades, once the transcendent blades come in, once the ultimate pops up, Aurelia will be just fine. And Jax, Jax is the same way too. Once he gets his ultimate, all that passive damage, all the extra resist. I mean, it's just a matter of how safely can you get to 6 if we are indeed actually looking at the lane swap situation.
And we've seen some low farm Jaxes that have been fairly successful in the past. So that's really the key. If it is a lane swap situation, to for the Jax player to bring themselves in the game, get whatever farm they can, and also roam a lot early on. To try and find lanes where you can get farm, but also join in early team fights for that. But we'll have to see what they can do if Absolute Legends, basically, excuse me, Absolute Legends, they have great single target pickoff, and they want as a team to use their high mobility and just jump in, and it's kind of Lee Sin's playstyle. Jump in, pick up 1 kill, and then get back up and back out. And that's the same thing for Ahri and Aurelia and Ezreal to a degree. So they want to just the team that they have in fights. It's a high mobility team. It's going to be very strong early in the game as well. So they should have an early game advantage where they want to just dive in, pick up a quick kill, and then escape after 1 kill. They don't want to just have a full 5-on-5. They want to have their 5-on-5 turn into kind of a 5-on-1 and then a retreat. And so they can really use that to their advantage. It's a really strong team comp that Absolute Legends is running, but they have to be concerned about the constant threat of the late game from Quantic, because Jax and Vayne, they're both hyper carries, and then TF has enough spam ability and the locks, the low cooldown on his stuns, that it might reduce some of that mobility that Absolute Legends is looking for and easily win it in the late game for Quantic.
So we had a lot of pings going down over in this brush by Absolute Legends. They're looking to camp that out. But Quantic, they're actually looking for an invade here, but only on the top lane. They know Lee Sin, he most commonly starts off at the red. So to go for the safer invade, to go for the safer steal, they're actually going to swoop on in, try and grab this blue, going the long way around through the tri-brush. It's a safe route.
Honestly, both teams might just go for a steal here. We don't really know where they're going, but none of them are seeing each other, and it's going to be interesting to see. Quantic, because they have such a strong level 1, I think they almost want to force a fight, and so they might actually just move back to their own blue after warding it.
They do, yep. There's the ward over on that blue. I think AL, they're expecting an invade. I think that's why they're all clumped up here, because they would have made a move otherwise over onto the blue if they were looking for that steal.
Actually have a really strong level 1, so this could be really interesting if Quantic decides to force this.
Both teams do have a strong level 1, but the thing is, Shen, since he's jungling, he's not going to be getting the taunt first, so it's going to hurt a little bit on the CC side. But yeah, Absolute Legends though with the charm, that's brutal. Absolutely brutal spell to have level 1.
And look at that, Orbit's actually going for a swap. So I don't know if they were trying to shut down Aurelia, but it's very unusual to swap Jax into that bottom lane. But I think that Quantic thought that Absolute Legends was going to go for a swap, kind of like we had talked about. And so they're sending Vayne and Nunu top. And, that has a couple of benefits for them. Jax is going to be in a tough situation, but they can shut down Aurelia early on, and then Jax can move up into that top lane. But also, it gives Vayne a situation where she can really easily farm. And Vayne's a really great champion in that 1v2. She's a champion that you commonly see in the 1v2. It's just you don't usually put Jax into that kind of a situation. And having the early advantage from those golems also helps out Quantic a lot in that top lane.
Counter-Strike bot first there for the Jax, and a quick stun onto Ezreal, then going to back off, but still taking way more damage.
Yuzuki's really in trouble, though.
Yeah, he's not going to be having a good time, not for very long. He's drinking those health potions. He actually backed and got a 4th just to be safe. But he needs some armor, and he's going to need to start stacking that quick, because he's going to get low at a very exponential rate the longer he stays down here. He can't even farm at this point. He has to wait for the wave to actually come over to his tower. He can't even get in range to soak up the experience. The residual experience.
I think Shen was originally maybe going to go for a gank, but he wants to keep an eye on this blue, and he picked up the early red. He has the ward, so he can easily steal this if Lee Sin goes. He actually backs off. He saw that TF kind of moved a little bit from the mid lane and was kind of threatened there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too.
They could go for the dive top though.
Right now, Quantic, they know. You see Shen. He is still hovering around the area, but he can also come in from behind. Look for a level 2 tower dive onto Zegan here in the top lane. Just need to wait for the minion wave to push.
And Lee Sin, in the meantime, he's taking their blue, but they're going to go for it now that it's pushed up.
Here's Shen just waiting for it, waiting for the taunt right underneath the tower. The exhaust going down also. You got Vayne piling on the damage, has the silver bolts, first blood really quick for Nian there in the top lane.
They have to watch out that Yuzuki's not going to face the same thing in the bottom lane, though, because it's very common to go for these level 2, level 3 ganks. And here's Lee Sin coming in. He has the double buff. The exhaust goes off. Yuzuki, he has the stun, though, and Sona is very low. He's very close to surviving. The slow from Yoda, they pick up the kill and then get out of there. So in exchange, but the first blood, it did go into the top lane.
I'm sure Yuzuki right now is wishing that he ignited that Lee Sin, but at the very least, though, they're doing one thing. They managed to do one thing, though, in the bot lane that the top lane
They're
can't say
going for
as much.
Aurelia again, though.
Hi, this is so dirty. This is so dirty. I like it. Zegan waiting once again. The wave's going to be pushed up. Deja vu. Here we go.
No exhaust, though.
There is no exhaust. It's going to be a little bit tougher, but there is still the flash up, waiting for the true damage to pile on. Look at Lemon Nation right there on the side, taking the turret like a boss.
Yeah, just beautiful play there from Lemon Nation, knowing exactly what their range is, being able to tank just enough for his team, making that happen. And you know, those level 3 ganks in the 1v2, it's something that kind of originated with the Season 2 championship, is where we saw it coming a lot more often. But it's really such a strong play because your jungler hits level 3 and your lane hits level 3, while the lane in the 1v2 the solo is only around level 1 or 2 usually.
Robert taking a little bit of damage from Yuzuki. He wants to defend his tower best he can because it is very, very dangerously low. Actually going to be going down on this
He has to watch
push.
out he doesn't just die when they take the turret.
Yeah, he may just want to GTFO at this point. Just let the turret fall, back off, cut your losses, don't die with it. But meanwhile, I mean, you look at the other tier 1 there in the top. You look at AL's top lane turret, and it's still in okay condition. Cannot say the same here for Quantic. So Ezreal and Sona, they've actually been doing a pretty damn good job getting some free damage on that turret. So I mean, granted, Quantic got a second kill up top lane. AL will very much likely get that turret instead.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think they left it up on purpose. I mean, partially you have to consider they did leave because of the pressure, you know, from Jax a little bit. The minion wave was dying, but because it was one hit left, they had the option where they could have taken it. And so they just wanted to get it low enough where the next time they want to take it, they can just sneeze and brush it over. But for right now, they want to leave it up. And that's something that's kind of a difference between some of the NA teams and some of the foreign teams. And, you know, CLG's kind of talked about that when Loco Doco was joining the team, how they've tried that aggressive pushing strategy that we've seen from teams like Azubu Blaze. Like we saw Azubu Blaze versus Naj and Shield in the qualifiers.
Yep.
They just took it right out 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, they don't care. Just want that gold.
But a lot of the NA teams, if they go for that aggressive pushing, they didn't know how to finish it. They didn't know, you know, how to push their advantage off of it. And the downside to taking that tower early on is that the lane no longer stabilizes around that river area. It pushes up to the second turret and it puts you in a difficult situation to keep farming or maybe stalls the game out against you. So Absolute Legends actually opting to hold on to that turret for now, but they have the option later on to try and snowball around the map.
And plus also when you get those quick towers, that is a very minuscule gold lead you take very early on, and the moment you lose that lead, if you just happen to give up a kill or two, or even a dragon, it's pretty much it. Your lead is blown, and by that point you've allowed the enemy team to farm up freely in that one lane you've been pushing out so far. And it's the one lane you've been working so hard just to try and smack out, just to put out of existence, and all of a sudden enemy team comes back. Nunu actually showing up. He's decided to camp out here, make it at the very least a dual lane down here in the bot. Vayne has been left to her own devices, their top lane, and just trying to create a wall to keep the minions coming in, but there is the teleport coming from TF, forcing the cleanse out of Robert. He is still ignited too, but left behind is the Sona, is exhausted, flashing on over to the bush. You have to come out of there at some point. Ice Ball, there you go. Auto attacks, gold card coming in from TF. Wild Turtle and Yuzuki going to be quick work of Spellsy there.
They have to worry about both Lee Sin and Ari, though. They're coming around the backside. Robert X. Lee trying to wear them down a little bit as Ari's cutting them off. So they could go for this. They could get a triple kill here because Slushy has them cut off around the back.
Slushy needs to hurry up, though. Lemon Nation, he's getting pretty far out. Meanwhile, top... Oh, there is the Ezreal actually taking out Nunu before Ari ever gets in here. But there is the ult, still stun going down. Wild Turtle trapped out. Double kill for the Ezreal, following up from the earlier Nunu kill. That is a quick 3 down bot.
Great play from Absolute Legends. So Ari moving down into the bottom lane, coming with Lee Sin. They were both actually around the top lane, so Ari was setting up to try and gank up there, and Lee Sin was there as well. And they ran across most of the map to get there. And then Ari, rather than running down the river, decides to run behind the turret. And that's, you know, always the strong path if you want to guarantee that you're going to fight. You know, the issue is if you get caught out, but she knew they were low enough. She has enough mobility that she can get that. So they get the kills. They take the dragon. They pull off to an early 2K lead. Nien is pretty close to taking down that top turret, but I think Aurelia at this point, being level 6, she should be able to hold that off fairly easily, and Absolute Legends has a nice early standing in this game.
Yeah, with the now you have level 6, now you have the ultimate, and also your
Shen's kind of trapped though because he's trying to steal that red, but Ari's coming down to try and stop him.
There's Ari, ult is down though. Yoda's quite low, does flash over the wall, but pursue the Q. The second part was still active. Yoda decides to follow on in through the pit. Ari did use the flash on the pursuit, but nothing gained off of that. Has to recall out in front of the dragon pit. But the red, though, has been taken.
Yeah, really nice steal from High L9. Now he can pull back, get the blue for his TF, and he's done a pretty nice job so far in the jungle. He's been putting pressure on lanes. He hasn't fallen behind to any counter jungling from Yoda. For the most part, Yoda's been pressuring the lanes as opposed to the jungle. So there's not a lot of threat of counter jungling so far, but we'll see, you know, now that Ari is level 6 and now that, you know, Yoda's level 6 as well, whether they put a little bit more pressure on.
That was strange though, because Yoda, with the pressure that he's been providing, I'm surprised he actually went for the Wriggles first instead of the GP10, which seems to be what all the cool kids are doing these days anyway. TF ult, where's he going? Going top lane, yellow card primed. Gonna get the stun on Robert, but he is going to shift away real quick. But the taunt and one more bolt from Vayne. Gonna get the shutdown there. Zekin is not in the best of situations. 4-man gank. Got nearly an entire team of Quantic now here in top. But Yoda, Spellsy, and Slushy still here trapped. Can Lee Sin get away? No, he will not. And now it's a full out dash. Get to the safety of your tower, please. Slushy will not be able to. The ult is up, but you're not getting far. You got the taunt in from Shen. That is a double kill for Vayne.
And the best thing for any team fight, of course, is when everyone runs in one at a time.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's more convenient for Quantic. I mean, that's less work they have to do.
But yeah, it was a really great fight for Quantic, you know, forcing it. And then Absolute Legends, they over-presumed their mobility. They, you know, were a little arrogant there. They were trying to see, okay, a couple of them are low, maybe we can pop in, pick up a kill into Vayne or something and turn this around. And they just, they weren't able to escape. So Orb, they used the mobility that Nunu gives them, and that really just allowed them to chase them down so aggressively. So really nice play there. And you know, we'll see how that kind of works. That one of the nice things about that is all of those kills going on to Vayne, or a number of them, 3 kills going on to Vayne in that situation, because Vayne was down. I mean, Vayne was out farming Ezreal, but Ezreal started off at 3-0, which is a really dangerous situation, particularly if they start laning against each other. That Ezreal might snowball that. But Zekin caught out in the bottom lane, the stun coming off. They have 3 guys down here. He's doing everything he can, but he has no backup. He will go down. So really nice job by Quantic once again.
I feel bad for Zekin because that's how many times he's had to deal with that dive? Too many. He's just been dove underneath his own tower.
Every single one of his deaths is like a 3-man tower dive.
I feel it's like I can't lane anymore. There's got to be, you got to think of the psychological pressure now going down on the Zeke. Is like, man, I can't even farm at this point. TF porting once again, gold card top lane on Spellsy, uses the ult in a quick dash out, but the wild cards will just barely reach from the wild turtle. One more bolt. Nien grabbing yet another kill top here on to the Ezreal. And it looks like Quantic is just starting to run away with this one.
Yeah, AL, they had the game kind of in their corner. They were doing really great early on. They had an early lead. And then Quantic was just using their mobility and using how strong all of their champions are to their effect. So really great job there. We'll see, you know, if AL can do anything to turn it around. But I don't know, maybe Lee Sin, he can, you know, backdoor Dragon or something like that. You know, he can easily solo it at this point. We've seen Diamond Proc soloing it at level 4 with the Wriggles, since that's, you know, the common build for Lee Sin now. But we'll see what they're going. It seems that Quantic, they're actually coming down, trying to pressure that blue. And Jax, is he going to move up as well?
You got Yoda. He's looking for that blue steel. Does actually get it, but the thing is, can you escape with it? That could be a problem. Here comes Ari with the ultimate. It is back up. Wants to shut down Vayne and gets it. Ari just barely dashes out of the completion of the Nunu ult, but Lee Sin, Yoda wants to go back in. Shields right back. to his buddies on the back line. Elimination Turtle doing the dance in the bush, looking for damage where they can. Blue card onto Ari, not quite a stun, but at least you can keep your mana up. Kick backwards onto the TF.
Wild cards.
But the wild cards are too good from Wild Turtle. But the shutdown Sona. Going to get the kill
Yoda
onto
can
the
still
Mr.
go
Cowboy.
in for this. If he gets a Q over to Shen, he's really close. No, he just goes for the minion. So they do back off, but a couple of them were very low. They weren't able to follow up, and that's kind of what Absolute Legends wants to do with their team. They use the mobility. They just kind of poke in and out the entire team fight. It almost looked like it wasn't going to work for them because everything was on cooldown. So Ari in particular, if her abilities are on cooldown, then she's not contributing clearly, but so that's always kind of a concern with Ari. But they were able to hold off for another reset of cooldowns and jump in for another couple of kills. So really nice job. Yeah. It helps pull them back into it, but it's still a 4K deficit, and they still have to contend with the fact that Vayne is almost finishing her Infinity Edge. So probably the next, easily the next time she goes back, she's going to have it finished. But that's really a serious threat. Not going for the Phantom Dancer first, which is something that we've been seeing from Vayne. That's usually the common build. Just going for the straight damage, and I think part of that is that Vayne knows that she has enough protection from her team. She has the Nunu ult for the separation. She has Jax and Shen, to kind of pull people off of her and have that frontline bruisers to draw attention away from Vayne. And then also the spam stuns from TF should help her out a lot.
And not to mention, Vayne is doing immensely well right now. You got over about like a 1,500 gold lead over up on the Ezreal. You're 5-1-3. You're doing so well, and usually, you get the Zeal early on just to keep that attack speed up so you can still do a decent amount of damage in lane. But with that much gold, you might as well buy it.
Yeah, but they pick up the Dragon. Top lane does go down. Ezreal and Sona poking up there. Shen should be able to hold that, but the Dragon going down. As Lee Sin, he's actually going in for it. He didn't get it. Vayne was able to hold on to that. He has a tough time getting up, but does flash over the wall as Wild Turtle is trying to chase them down, and so they do back off. And that's actually, I can't believe it took me this long to realize. High L9 going in for Robert. Gets some nice damage, but will back off. There's the Sona ultimate trying to pick up the kill. Robert actually, he's taking the turret. One more shot. It actually kills him. And Shen barely gets out of there. And now TF is going to be coming up top. He does not have his ultimate, but they can still collapse on the Sona if they can win this fight.
Ari does actually take out the TF while he was en route there to the top lane. Nunu sees the rest of the team coming, and you also see Yuzuki actually getting onto the side, getting positioned. This is very dangerous right now for the Shen. You do not want to be losing the Oracles at this point. Don't recall there. For the love of God, don't do that. You don't want to be sniped out by a wayward orb. But this is a little bit of a bad situation for Quantic. They may have to give up this tower. Not quite sure.
They could poke it fast enough.
They could poke it down fast enough. It's just a matter of getting the minion support. Nien, on the other hand.
Yeah, Nien's easily going to be able to take down that turret, but I don't know that Ari would put enough damage, so they do back off in that top lane. And I was going to say that last fight, I just realized just now that Nien was actually playing AD, and Nien is actually the mid player for Quantic, while Wild Turtle is their AD player, but they swapped for this game. And we've seen Wild Turtle in the past. Face Off comes to mind with his TF play. He really knows the character well. And so, even though he's normally their AD, they have that kind of flexibility, which is interesting. It kind of harkens back to old CLG, where they would just kind of all swap in and out for whatever they were comfortable playing. And so, if Nien is a little bit more comfortable with Vayne, Wild Turtle, he's happy with the TF, it actually should work out well for them.
I have no problem with Wild Turtle playing TF. It was an amazing piece of entertainment value. If you've never watched the Face Off VODs, if you're still brand new to the competitive scene, go watch the old games when he was subbing in for a Legion at Face Off. There's an amazing game where he gets this backdoor with TF.
It really adds to their flexibility as a team to be able to run those different things. They do have to watch out in the mid that Ari doesn't force a fight here, but having that flexibility as a team, we've already talked about the unusual picks that Nien plays, but to be able to swap in and out of lanes comfortably is pretty interesting.
So we're now looking to be onto the 18th minute. 5K gold lead here for Quantic. They're in a pretty good position. You saw Absolute Legends take that early tower, but the problems with that is that sometimes if you lose that lead, things do have a tendency to backfire on you. The chase down onto Lemon Nation. You're going to be finding a Vayne. Shen ulting down on. Also, there is the taunt. There's the quick kill on the Nine-Tailed Fox. Yoda looking to get away, shielding on over to the rest of his team. The Sona ult only going to be hitting high L9, but there is the kill from Zeking down onto Nien. You got Nunu with the ultimate and actually going to be shot with the missing shot before he even lands. Jax with the jump onto the edge. We're going to grab that kill. That is a quick 2 for 3 here for Quantic, though, and they're still in chase. High L9, can he get another taunt off? No, he will not. and Quantic continuing their push down here in the bot lane, and getting your farm on.
But that's scary for Absolute Legends because that fight started off so perfectly for them. They were chasing down Nunu for a while, and then in the end, he just walked right into the team. And so, you know, it was a nice opportunity for them, but because of the double teleports with Shed and TF, they were able to come in and turn it around. You know, even if Seekant was able to pick up the kill on Vayne, Quantic was able to turn that fight around and, you know, win it. And part of it is if they have to focus down Vayne, then that means they're leaving Jax and TF unperturbed, and both of those champions will easily win those long sustained fights, particularly when Jax is so significantly ahead of Aurelia. Actually only a 700 gold lead, but that's, you know, a decent amount, and it's the fact that it's Jax, so you know, it's always a nice thing.
Yeah, a 700 gold lead, and he's been pushing down that wave pretty unrelentlessly at that. And also I feel that Jax, he's itemizing a little bit better than Aurelia is right now. He's actually going for that Trinity Force first. Because Aurelia was so denied in the lane, there really was no other option for her than to get the GP10 just to try and minimize the goal loss you would have incurred otherwise. But Jax ended up doing...
Oh, he stole it. He did steal it. I didn't think he was going to be in range because he was way out of it, and then he flashed last second to steal it. And I was like, okay, you have the ward. Why don't you just go for it? And then the last second, Hyel9 went in for it. Wow. I can't believe he used his flash for it, but I'm kind
of bamboozled by that myself.
I mean, it hurts Ahri a lot to not have that blow.
It does, and she's going to be relying on these cooldowns a lot because we were talking before. After she uses the charm, after she uses the orb, she's just sitting there for a second. If he doesn't have the ult, she's completely screwed in these team fights upcoming. But now, well, yeah, without that, she's going to be significantly weaker. And it would be nice if that got into TF, but hey, you know, beggars can't be choosy.
Oh, there's no Shen ultimate, though. In the end, kind of getting caught off. Nunu does cut him off, so nice job from Lemon Nation to get him out of there. And they can back up, but, you know, we've talked about before, Jax at this point, he's significantly stronger than Aurelia, and it means that they can split that lane off the entire game. You know, we've already seen Jax pushing, but he can just sit up there, and that really, it's going to put a lot of pressure around the rest of the map for Wild Turtle and Hyel9 to be more aggressive.
We may see the duel of the solo laners here. Quick counter-strike here from Jax leaping on in, and there is the TF ultimate. There's the gold card. There's the stun. Seekant is not going anywhere. 1-5 now in this game on the 21st minute. There's another stun. Didn't even move. Had no opportunity. The CC was too strong. And yet, once again, go for the flash stun to Ahri. Double kill. Yuzuki making plays here today. Very masterfully done. Pings are going down onto Baron already. Vayne is already down at the bot lane, but in the end, he can just make the marathon run over. They can actually do this without him. He's like, hey, you know what? Push lane. We got Baron. It's okay. We got it.
Well, they're significantly stronger than them right now. In the end, happy to farm, but you know, they've really done a nice job of chaining their CCs and using their high damage to chase him down. Wild Turtle, he's walking right into the stun ult. Robert X. Lee trying to take him down. He has the Shen to help him out. The flash over the wall. The Shen taunt misses. Wild Turtle, he picks up the kill, though, onto Ezreal. And now Spellsy should be just a little issue. Can he get the stun? Yes, picking it up. So they get the Baron. Wild Turtle survives, and in the end, in the meantime, is pushing bot. So really nice play from Quantic. And, you know, it's going to be almost impossible for Absolute Legends to come back at this point. The game's basically over. You know, it's such a huge goal lead. They need to make a miracle happen. They need to pick people off in order to make this happen.
And Yoda's trying his best, but a few shots and some true damage is going to keep him away just for a second.
Oh
you got the tumble backwards. Nien evade, well, actually gets the tail end of the charm, but gets out of the way of the orb.
About Aurelia, though. Aurelia and Lee Sin.
Oh, man. Aurelia only going to be getting slow on that, but there is the cleanse being baited out. Nien
dodging the Q.
Tumbling on out, back and forth. Here comes Shen with the taunt in, and now you got Wild Turtle. The teleport is back on up. Wild cards after being condemned away. Still hits the Aurelia. 2 quick kills.
Nien with the field goal. Oh my God! As the surrender happens,
the demoralizing was a bit too strong. And Absolute Legends, they're just gonna say, "What? We pass on this. Give us another opportunity. We'll try and take you there." But game 1. Gonna be going over to Quantic.
That is the coolest thing about Vayne as a champion. When she's being played by someone of such a high caliber. Nien, I mean, that was really impressive. Some of those the things he was doing and dodging the Q in order to survive there.
That was
awesome.
I think I would be very tempted to say that's a top 5.
Yeah, we're writing it down for the top.
We're writing it down for top 5. I
to
guarantee
have that support from the team. I mean, Quantic, they started off Absolute Legends. They were able to pull ahead a little bit. They had a nice early fight down in the bottom lane. Were able to take down the tower and the dragon. But Quantic, they were constantly, pressuring Absolute Legends the entire time. They were very aggressive team, after like the 10-minute mark, once they were comfortable with the TF and Shen, and they were running around going for those kills. So they were able to pick it up. Really impressive win by them. And it'll be interesting to see what Absolute Legends does to turn this around coming into game number 2, because they have to be kind of concerned now, because Quantic, they really handed it to them that game, but they also have a lot of unusual strategies on the back line. And so Absolute Legends doesn't exactly know what to expect.
Well, you expect the unexpected. That's what you expect. But I can tell you what, right now we are expecting a quick commercial break. While we're doing that, while we wait for game number 2, remember, IGN.com/IPL5 giveaways. We're giving away 5 pairs, 5 sets of 2 VIP passes to IPL5 along with some swag bags. If you've already got your general admission ticket, you want to upgrade, or if you're thinking about going, you might want to go there, hit a few buttons, and you'll be entered in to win that fantastic package. We'll be back in just a little bit. Game number 2, Absolute Legends and Quantic for the Wildcard Qualifier.